on top of each other, so with no current explanation. So very interesting indeed. But for furniture to be stacked up, we'd have to look at that as possible poltergeist activity.
We're moving north toward the centre of Manchester and the Shakespeare pub, where later in the show you'll find out what happened when Stuart Torreville and I held vigil.
My name's Chris, I run the Shakespeare. I've been here about a year. I came here from another pub that I was running in Wales, in a town called Lixham, a little town there, and then I got offered this position here, so I ended up coming to the Shakespeare Centre of Manchester, come back to my roots because I'm a Manchester lad.
I've been here at the Shakespeare for about 4 months now. Basically the job that I do is waitressing in the restaurant and also working the bar. I'm up here on my own most weekends on Saturday and Sunday, serving food to all the customers, and then during the week I'm downstairs in the bar.
The actual building itself has stood here since 1700s, but then they moved the shambles in Chester. I think they moved some of the fixtures and fittings from there and brought it to here, and then this is when it was renamed the Shakespeare. There's supposedly two stories. There's supposedly one of a little girl who used to go around lighting the candles when the pub obviously didn't have any electricity, and she set fire to herself and burnt herself to death. And the second story is that there was a chef that worked here who raped and killed the little girl on the site, and then he hung himself from a beam upstairs in the residential quarters. There's a rope mark still visible from the beam, and there is actually a rope mark around, so I'd probably go with the latter of the two from seeing the rope marks. So when I first came here, the staff would tell me that the restaurant was the most haunted part of the pub. They used to tell me that the ghost used to come down the stairs and into the pub and things like that. So I was a bit taken aback by it really when I first came here, because obviously I'd never had any dealings with ghosts in any of my other pubs. About maybe 3 or 4 weeks into me living here, we set the alarms at the end of the night. Obviously all the motion sensors come onto the pub, and the alarm went off about 8 times through the night. So I thought I had mice. So obviously I got Rent-A-Kill in, and they came in and said, no, there's no mice. So I was telling the staff about it, and they said, no, it's the ghost. And what ghost? And then like they were telling me about the girl that used to come down the stairs and into the pub. And with the motion sensors on the alarm board, it tells you exactly which sensor's gone off, and it was always the same sensor.
I'm not a massive believer in ghosts and paranormal activity and stuff like that, or I wasn't until I got here. And then I kind of experienced a few things myself, so I've kind of gone back on that and thought, you know what, maybe there is something else apart from just us. This was my introduction to the paranormal. I've always wanted to believe that, you know, there was something else. You know, I do read these ghost stories and think, oh, wouldn't that be cool if that happened to me? So, you know, now that I'm here and it has happened to me, I kind of feel like, yeah. You know. But no, this is the first time that I've ever felt any presence of any kind. The first experience that I had was walking through the restaurant. I'd finished, I was resetting the tables, and I had this feeling that there's someone very, very close behind me, like someone's invading your space, stood immediately behind you, and that was a bit creepy, because when you turn around and there's nothing there, but you still feel like there's someone really invading your space.
customers sense, you know, they come and say, oh, there's a funny feeling about this room, and oh, we don't like this room, and can we eat downstairs? Do you mind if we eat downstairs? If you actually go onto the stairs, there's a funny sense and a funny feeling in the stairs. It's always cold on there, no matter how in the middle of the summer the stairs are always cold, and there's a funny smell there. So I'd say probably the stairs going from the restaurant into the main bar area is probably your most haunted place.
Only the other day, there was someone up here with me. I was at one end of the restaurant and he was at the other, and I was just skipping towards the kitchen, and I felt like someone had grabbed me on the top of my arm, and I thought it was him, and I turned round and he was at the other end of the restaurant, and it felt like someone had really gripped me, so that was a bit spooky, and that hadn't happened before.
I think pubs are good for this sort of activity, just for the simple reason is they change hands that many times, and a lot of pubs have been standing for 300, 400, 500 years, so that a lot of buildings that people are moving into, they might have only been built 80 years ago, 90 years ago, whereas a lot of the pubs obviously were former inns and coach houses, so at that time there was a lot of witch hunting and things like that going on in that era. So I think that's why you get more sort of spirits involved in the pubs than you probably would do in residential dwellings.
The kitchen staff told me about the archway between the bar and the restaurant. She said that there's always like a very dark, shadowy figure there when she's in here.